I'm, recording this so that I can keep a bit of my sanity. This is gonna be my suicide note. It's the end for me. I just wanted this down so that others may see why death brings suffering. Why you can't let one person die in your life. My daughter got home from school at about 2 p.m. Her being in a kindergarten class, they sent the little tykes home before the others. I thought that I can get an hour or two into some TV movies, and I finished around 1:40, and exactly after I turned off the TV, a ring came at the door. I walked to the door and saw a little girl with her mother, selling Girl Scout cookies. I happily bought them and started to eat the tag-alongs. I gave the little girl a tip. I mean, when delivering cookies in the heat of Florida, you have to have a bit of decency. About 20 minutes later, my daughter got home. "Hello, Daddy," she said, throwing herself on me. I chuckled and got her some lunch. It was definitely a normal day until that night. At around 1:40 a.m., my daughter screamed bloody murder. I quickly jumped out of bed and ran to her room. I saw the door open and saw my daughter huddled up in a little ball in the corner of her bed. I grabbed her quickly and turned the light on in her room. What I saw was completely chilling. I saw written in red paint on the wall, lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. Sins of your forefathers, sins you can't hide. What the hell was that supposed to mean? The 7 sins? My daughter started to hyperventilate. She started saying, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," over and over again. I grabbed her asthma inhaler and tried to give it to her, but she was far too into her asthma attack that she really couldn't do much. I ran to my car with her and placed her in the back seat and drove as fast as I could to the nearby hospital. We were instantly admitted, and she was saved from going into cardiac arrest. Turned out my daughter, at 5, had heart disease. It was about 7 years later, and during those 7 years, the things started to get really bad. It was Christmas time. I had a wife named Samantha, a son named Gregory. My daughter, Haley, was 12 years old. Greg was about 4. I was loving my life. The kids were happy. Samantha and I were happy. It was great. Except for the years previous. The first year, all the women around me became aroused and flirtatious with me, constantly. You want to know why that's bad? Because everyone that I rejected killed themselves in some horrid way. One gutted herself with a kitchen knife. Another hung herself in the gutter on her house. The second year, my daughter became infatuated with food. So much that her heart condition worsened. She was rushed to the hospital over 10 times during the course of the year, but when the year was up, she became anorexic, stopped eating altogether. The third year, my house went into foreclosure, and I became very stingy with money and food. We later found out that the landowner of our house still had rights to the land, and was stealing money out of my credit card for 2 years. I'm lucky that I met Samantha. She let me and my daughter move into her home. We married in December, and had my son in October. The fourth year, I was called by many talent agencies asking about my amazing singing skills, which I had shown off when I sat in a band a month before the year started. The thing is, when I said no, they would keep calling, and calling, until they became violent, calling me foul names. One of them even tried to kill me right outside my house. He shot at me with a handgun and clipped my ear. In the 5th year, I became inexplicably angry at my daughter and wife for everything. I became abusive in the months of December. But in that same month, I fell down the stairs and suffered brain damage. But so little damage that it gave me little memory of the past year. I can only recall this because my daughter told me about it. In the 6th year, my daughter became jealous of my son getting all of the attention, but I tried to tell her that the babies needed more attention than 10-year-olds. She became angry and violent. She eventually ran away. I called the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They found her in the abandoned house next to us, hiding in one of those little closets. She was starving. But she eventually kicked her anorexia. It was the 7th year now, and nothing had really helped at all. This is until that night. At exactly 1:40 a.m. that the shit hit the fan, and I heard my daughter scream, a blood-curdling scream. I quickly ran to her and saw something that broke my heart and terrified me. A man stood looking at her bed, holding a sleek knife. He grabbed her and ripped her open with the blade. And, oh God, it's hard to even think about it. But he took all that remained of her. Jesus Christ, I was so proud of her. My baby. It's the 8th year now. My wife left me, and my son barely knows me, and I curse myself every day. My late wife who bared my daughter. I now know that it was you who gave me this curse. You always hated me. I couldn't save you. I never could, and you hate me for it. So now I end it all. Hello. This is Gregory, the boy in the story. I'm 36 now, and I was given this tape from the police about a year ago. Suicide tape. It was recorded by my father back in 1980. I was only 5 years old when my mother got news about my father, and she cried for about an hour. I was alone too, and it wasn't until 10 years later that my mom gave me the real story. She cried crocodile tears when she heard the news. The only emotion that she harbored for my dad was hate. See, my father did all those horrible things that you hear in the story. My father was insane. At 1:40 a.m. in 1973, the date of death of his first wife and their anniversary, the psychologist he saw when his wife died suspected that his wife's death was at his fault. He created an excuse and based his so-called revenge on the 7 deadly sins. The night of his wife's anniversary, he gave his daughter a shot of steroids, which gave her the heart condition. He killed every woman who flirted with him for 1 year, making their deaths look like suicides. The second year, he stuffed his daughter full of food, making her eat the largest portions. He became upset that it didn't kill her, so he made her throw up her food almost every meal when the year was up. In the third year, he sold his house and let my mom use the money from his credit card. He also became abusive for many years after that. Fourth year, he claimed that he was the most talented singer ever, began calling talent agencies and such, and when they turned him down, he would call them foul names. And one man he even tried to kill. Shot at the man right outside of his studio and clipped him on the ear. Fifth year, he tried to kill my mom and late sister many times, but my mother retaliated, pushing him down the stairs. He acquired short-term memory loss and couldn't remember much about that month. The sixth year, he drove my sister out of the house, calling her stupid bitch or fucking whore. She hid in the house next door, and when my father called a lost child agency, the forensics team quickly turned her back into our house, which my mother frequently called hell. The seventh year, my dad was very tame. He became a very nice man, happy, was proud of his behavior, and until 1:40 a.m. on the night of his wife's anniversary, he killed my sister with a kitchen knife and fled with her remains back to the Bahamas. Still can't believe it to this very day, and at the beginning of the 8th year, he killed himself. The police force say that it was suicide, and he created a makeshift noose out of organic materials. They all lie, because the rope was my sister.